Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, my group and I will talk about daily study duration of CFS students. We all know that many students facing challenges such as limitation on their revision, peer influence, and poor time management due to their negative habits and external factors. As a student of CFS IIUM, consistent revision is of paramount importance to ensure academic performance remain at excellent levels. Thus, our research is focusing on how much time CFS students spend studying each day and assess the effectiveness of their study habits in relation to the subject they are taking. This study aims to determine the daily study duration of CFS students, identify the impact of their study method on their academic performance, and a commonly used study location among students to improve their study quality and study achievement. The method we are used to collect the data is convenience sampling, where participants are selected based on their availability and accessibility. The respondent will be the CFS student of International Islamic University of Malaysia IIUM. Then, the participants will be classified into two groups, which is male students and female students. Based on the data of each population, we receive a response of 30 male students and 30 female students for this study.
In this project, we are interested in analyzing the data study duration of CFS students, which focuses on students' preference. This is the bar chart of students' preferred time to study. Based on the data, the majority of CFS students, which is 35 out of 60 respondents, prefer to study at midnight, while only 7 students choose the evening as their preferred study time. Other than that, only 3 students like to study in the afternoon, and lastly, 15 students prefer to study in the morning. Next, let's look at this bar chart of the study method among CFS students. From the responses, 22 students reported using active recall as their main study technique, followed by 18 students who prefer the Pomodoro method. Other than that, there are equal numbers of students who use Feynman technique and study group. Lastly, none of the students use flashcards as the method of study. Next, let's discuss how many hours female and male in CFS IIUM spend their time studying on weekend. First, I will start with the duration study on the weekend of female students in CFS IIUM. Based on the raw data collected from 30 female students, their study duration on weekend ranges from 2 hours to 19 hours. After organizing and analyzing the data, the average study time for female students is around 5.52 hours. Most of them fall into 4 to 6 hour range, which indicates a moderate amount of study during the weekend. Only a small number of female students study for longer periods, showing that intense weekend studying is less common among them. Next, I will explain the data for duration study on the weekend of male students in CFS IIUM. For the 30 male students survey, their weekend study time ranges from 1 hour to 10 hours. The average study duration is 3.78 hours, which is lower than female students. Most male students fall into the 1 to 3 hour range, indicating shorter and more consistent study times on weekend. Only a few male students reported longer study hours, making them less common compared to the rest.
Next, we'll discuss about the frequency distribution of study duration among CFS students on weekend. Based on 60% of CFS students, the lowest study duration is in the range 0.5 hours to 3.5 hours, while the highest study duration is in the range 18.5 hours to 21.5 hours. The figures show the calculation on central tendency and variation for our main variable, which is study duration of CFS students on weekend. The figures show the calculation on central tendency and variation for our main variable, which is study duration of CFS students on weekend. The mean of duration that CFS students spend on weekend is on the average 4.55 hours. Next, the mode at 3.29 hours indicate that this is the most frequent duration of study that CFS students spend on weekend. To add, half of the students spend less than 3.83 hours for studying on weekend. Lastly, the variance and the standard deviation helps explain the spread of study duration on weekend, about 3.57 hours, suggesting a moderate level of variability. Now let's look at the histogram for CFS student study duration. As we can see, the class with the highest frequency falls in the range 0.5 to 3.5 hours with 27 students. Besides that, when we look at the class with the lowest frequency, there is one person who spent his or her study each 9.5 to 12.5 hours, 12.5 hours to 15.5 hours, 15.5 hours to 18.5 hours, and 18.5 hours to 21.5 hours, indicating that the number of students drop as the time range increases. According to this trend, many students maintain a lower level of study duration a weekend, while there are less students as the time increases. Furthermore, the information statistic of study duration among CFS students on weekend, we are using 95% confidence interval for population mean, because we will expect 95 of the interval will include, meanwhile 5 will not. For female confidence interval for population mean, we are 95% confident that true mean study duration among them on weekend is between 4.02 hours to 7.02 hours. Meanwhile, for the male students, we are 95% confident that true mean study duration among them on weekend is between 2.97 hours to 4.59 hours. Therefore, we can conclude that we do not have any statistical evidence to show any differences or similarities between these two groups at 5% significance level, as there are overlap between male and female groups. The data provide inconclusive evidence, and further statistical evidence should be done.
Based on the survey we conducted among CFS IIUM students, we selected 30 male and 30 female respondents as our sample. From the data, we found that the average weekend study duration is 4.55 hours, the mode is 3.29 hours, the median is 3.83 hours, and the standard deviation is 3.57 hours, which shows a moderate variation in study habits. As a Muslim, we know that time is a trust from Allah, as the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Take benefit of 5 before 5, your youth before your old age, your health before your sickness, your wealth before your poverty, your free time before you are preoccupied, and your life before your death." This hadith reminds us that time is valuable, and when we use it for seeking knowledge, it becomes meaningful both in this life and hereafter. To enhance the accuracy of this study in the future, we suggest increasing the number of respondents and diversifying the types of questions asked. This will help reduce the margin of error and provide a broader understanding of students' study patterns.